If I
They were on
recall,
strike for
if I
14 weeks.
if I recall, I think Jay Leno actually was like paying writers like out of pocket. He didn't want his show to go off the air, so he was actually paying out of pocket to keep writers for his show. I know he did specifically. I remember
I
that.
mean, that would be writers that are not in the guild then, I
Yeah,
suppose, because
they wouldn't.
those couldn't.
Yeah, they couldn't take. They
Hmm.
wouldn't be.
Or
They
maybe they just wrote stuff themselves or hired non-guild writers, if that's possible,
yeah.
depending on contracts.
I just remember there were articles about
Hmm.
how he was paying writers out of pocket himself
Hmm.
to keep his show on the air because he didn't want to go off air.
Hmm.
All right, we're good. We're fantastic. Well, everybody, welcome back to the show. Uh, the turn-based Cynics, a show more stable, more capable, and far more enjoyable than Redfall. Ooh.
Speaking of topical.
Ooh, I hit him where it hurts. Hit him where it hurts. Ooh. And that is the only talk about Redfall you're going to have in this episode. So if you were expecting us to expound upon Redfall, you're not getting it this episode. That's all you're getting. So if you came here for that, there's the door. See your way out. Oh goodness.
Expecting more than that would be a red flag.
Ooh. But yeah, man. I've been on vacation this week. So I think I
Hmm,
mentioned that. It's been a good vacation, been a good break. Uh
that's good.
mm-hmm. Played a fuck ton of Final Fantasy VI Pixel Remaster.
Ah.
I love the music. They really did a good job with the the redoing of the music. It's not really
Mm-hmm.
the music is probably closer. It's a reimagining of some of the tracks. They did a great job for like six,
Oh.
5, and 4. The music is
Mm-hmm.
superb. I'm really fucking digging it. It's so fucking good. And
That
that
sounds good.
that and I could take it with me wherever I go is always, not don't want to make myself sound like a Switch fanboy, but I do like my Switch a lot. So if I could take Final Fantasy VI with me somewhere, I'm not gonna say much about that. I also started Caligula. Ca- yeah,
I think I know which one you mean. Caligula?
yeah,
Something like that?
yeah,
The
yeah,
Caligula effect, was it?
yeah. Caligula. The medulla
Yeah, the
oblongata
Caligula
effect.
effect overdose.
Yeah, the medulla oblongata effect. I'm digging it. It's actually kind of cool. It's a very,
Yeah.
very NIS to some degree as far as the theming and stuff. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
kind of interested to see where they take it. Cause I'm like, oh, this is an interesting opening. I go up on stage to give a speech to my peers, and suddenly everyone starts glitching the fuck out. Holy shit, this
Oopsie.
is fucking weird. Okay, you have my
Mm-hmm.
attention, game. I'll play along. I'll see what you have to offer. So I started that.
Mm-hmm.
That's been on my to-do list to play that in my spare time when I'm not working on other projects. Got an episode of
Mm-hmm.
remake done because I also completed that 1,000 Shinra soldier mission.
Uh-huh. And
Yeah,
crisis score.
yeah, solid 35 minutes, motherfucker. Solid 35 minutes of
Mm-hmm.
nothing but beating these motherfuckers down.
I've heard people taking even more time than that, like an hour or something.
Yeah, it's not a quick mission at all. If I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
be 100% honest with you,
Yeah.
but I
Not
fucking did.
exactly an entry in the list of good mission design or
You
good
know,
quest
okay,
design.
but I could deal with bad quest
Mm-hmm.
design. I could
Mm-hmm.
deal with like one or two quests having like subpar quest design if the
Mm-hmm.
reward was worth it. That's the problem. The reward
Yeah,
is
well.
not worth it. So, I will gladly put myself through an absurd
Rewards
amount.
are kind of part of the design, I'd say.
Yeah, I will gladly put myself through all kinds of stupidity if the reward
Mm-hmm.
at the end is worth it. But the reward at the end of that quest is not worth it.
Yeah, that carrot that got was dangled was kind of
I
shriveled and a bit
I was
moldy.
I was literally only doing it because I wanted to complete that section of quests.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like,
Just for the
well,
completion.
yeah, it was kind of for completion, I'm gonna be honest.
Mm-hmm.
The completion side for a lot of Crisis Core is not great.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna keep it really, really on it. Like, this is coming from someone who has really enjoyed his time with this game,
Mm-hmm.
and I will still tell you, I think the completion aspect of this game is it's not good. It's not good.
Questionable at best.
Yeah, like yeah. At best, like, me being really nice, I'd say questionable. Me being really honest, I'd
Mm-hmm.
say don't. Don't. Like, no,
Mm-hmm.
don't. Like, listen. Listen. We all have to do the same arithmetic, right? A video game and our time, right? How do you
Mm-hmm.
decide that those two things weigh out? Do you value having fun or do you value your time? And you know, it's me, so I
Well,
don't
in
always
this case, I think both the having fun and the having time would be weighed down.
yeah, it's like, do you want to have fun or do you want to value your time? And I apparently don't want either. I don't want to have
So that
fun.
scale just broken.
Yeah, that scale broke. I clearly just don't want either of those things. I don't want to have fun and I don't want to value my time. So this
Mm-hmm.
entire conversation was an entire waste. I don't know why I even bothered having it, honestly. This was dumb. Uh so yeah, that's been a pretty good uh kind of rundown of my vacation.
Mm-hmm.
I would pretend like I've done more, but that would be a
Hmm.
gross lie. I haven't. I only recently got back
Mm-hmm.
into like the groove of things like today. Today's like the first day I've actually like sat down at my desk and didn't instantly like fall asleep in my seat or something. Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
So
after taking a week off, one would hope that you don't instantly fall asleep.
I'd hope. I'd hope. But yeah, that's it. That's my week. It's been good. I've
Oh, sounds chill.
ready to get back in the driver's seat and hopefully not crash this motherfucker into the first tree that I see.
Mm-hmm. Well, here's hoping.
Yeah, better better hope I have my license, motherfuckers, because y'all put the wheel in my hand, so y'all really y'all like, look, y'all either trust in Jesus or you trust in me, and I don't know. I can't guarantee you that either one of us is going to steer you the right direction. So flip a coin, pray to whatever deity you believe in, because you you either get into your destination or I'm taking us right off the street into a ditch. It's your choice. So we can.
Yeah, all right, Two Face.
Yeah. He did it better though. He did it better. He did it far better than I ever could. So how about you, CD?
he's he's less emotionally connected to the whole decision thing.
Yeah, it's all just coin tosses and fate to him. It's.
For me, gaming wise, it's been a pretty chill week. I haven't done that much. Mainly continuing in Honkai Star Rail, having a bit of fun with that. Continuing the main story, doing the daily quests, getting some of the characters, although not really using them because my main party is pretty set and doing pretty well, and I don't really need to spend the XP items to level up the other characters
Mm-hmm.
currently. Maybe I'll do that at some other point later on if the game requires it, but I'm pretty happy with the party setup I have currently. Healer in the party, a heavy single target damage dealer with a bit of a group damage option, and one that has pretty much a debuff option, and one that has a group damage option with a bit of a debuff, sort of like a slow down the enemy so their turns come up a bit later. That's a pretty good combo so far.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Mm. But besides that, haven't been gaming on that much this week. Had a few other things to do. Just regular life stuff.
Yeah, yeah. No, I understand. I fully understand. It happens to the best of us,
Mm.
man. That whole getting older thing tends to
Nah.
get in the tends to get in the way. Don't worry, I feel it. I understand. Don't need to explain yourself. All right. Uh, I wasn't sure which one I wanted to start with, but I think I'm going to start with the
Uh-huh.
Phil Spencer one.
Alrighty.
Normally, I would talk. I'm going to kind of split this up to little bits and pieces a little bit and kind of
Mm-hmm.
discuss some of the things that caught my attention and
Mm-hmm.
kind of go off into our discussion points from there. So during the kind of funny XCast, Microsoft Gaming, Phil Spencer, CLC Gaming CEO Phil Spencer was on to talk about the upcoming Xbox game showcase in June. And I'm gonna be honest.
Mm-hmm.
I was very surprised by his honesty and candor during this interview. I wouldn't have
Mm-hmm.
expected that from a CEO, but I mean, he kept it real.
Yep.
I think he kept it pretty fucking real about the circumstance that Xbox is in and
Mm-hmm.
the general overall landscape of this industry.
Yeah,
Uh,
I'd say so.
to note, I want to take this bit. We're not
Mm-hmm.
in the business of outselling Sony, out consoling Sony or out consoling Nintendo. There really isn't a great solution or win for us. And I know that will
Mm-hmm.
upset a ton of people, but just the truth of the matter is that when you're third place in the console marketplace, and the top two players are as strong as they are, and in certain cases have very discreet focus on doing deals and other things that will make being Xbox hard for us as a team, that's on us, not anybody else. And
Mm-hmm.
okay, I want to kind of talk about that for a second because
Mm-hmm.
I I agree with him partly. He has a point.
Mm-hmm.
At this point in the game, there aren't a lot of
Yep.
effective ways for them to out console Sony.
Yep.
Or
Certainly not in the short term.
yeah, not in a maybe if they play like the incredible long game, they might be able to out
Mm-hmm.
console them. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that I think it'd be really remiss of me to say that the Xbox One generation really fucking hurt Xbox. It
Yep.
fucking
He
destroyed.
agrees with that,
Yeah,
and yeah,
we'll get
that
to
was
that.
definitely the
Yeah,
worst loss for
that
them.
like you take like they took an L the likes of which I don't think. I think if this was any lesser company, this would have ended the company.
Mm-hmm.
I think anybody else would have tried that shit. you
Well,
know.
ended the company, or at least their endeavors in the console
Yeah, in
hardware field.
the console space, no, fuck that. They
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't.
Yeah, that.
Anybody else would have just been fucking. They would have just said, "Well, we're not doing that shit again. Fuck it."
Yeah,
Well,
if one would be um how would you say? If one would be cheeky, I think one could say the L was about the size of a football stadium.
yeah, and to kind of illustrate that point, as you said, he does mention it here. We lost the worst generation to lose in the Xbox One generation, where everyone built their digital library of games. So when you go and you're building on Xbox, we want our community to feel awesome. But this idea that if we just focus on great games on our console, we're somehow going to win the console race, and it really doesn't lend to reality of most people. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not sure how I, because like I don't really like having games for Xbox would help you. I don't understand.
It would definitely help, but there are other factors that would be necessary to for them to win. It's not a short-term thing.
Yeah, you know what? But I'm not even looking at like a
Mm-hmm.
win. Like like not even like fuck it. Like they're not like Xbox ain't walking out of this generation with a win. I don't
Yeah,
even think you have to win.
no matter what.
You just have to get a better time than you did last year. Like that's all I'm asking from you, right? If this is a race, I'm not
Mm-hmm.
asking you to win. I'm asking that your time when you cross the finish line is better than the last time you competed. That's all I really would
Yeah.
think that anybody would really want from, I mean, diehards. I feel like diehards would simply just want that, like, a game for Xbox would come out once every couple of years or something that would be worth
Mm-hmm.
playing or whatever. And to be fair, Microsoft really hasn't had those W's
Mm-hmm.
at all. So
Yeah.
I could definitely I he's right. Like if you're gonna lose a generation, there was no conceivable reason why they should have lost. The Xbox 360 literally was the greatest thing ever, was like the
Yep.
greatest thing ever made. You literally had the next generation on a platter. Like
Mm-hmm.
you're
Yep.
the Xbox 360, you can't set someone else up for success any better than the 360 set them up. Losing that
Mm-hmm.
generation is whew.
Yep. That was a giant fumble.
He said he goes on to say 90% of the people every year who walk into a retailer to buy a console are already a member of one of the three ecosystems, and their digital library is there. This is the first
Mm-hmm.
generation where the big games that they play were games that were available like last gen, available last gen like Fortnite, Roblox, Minecraft. The continuity
Mm-hmm.
from generation to generation is strong. That is true.
Yep.
That is
Mm-hmm.
very true. At this point in the game, there's people have so much built up.
They have the digital library because this is pretty much the first time when you can just take your library, your old games, and get them over to the new generation.
Yeah.
So, mm, as he says, 90% of the people will just trade in their old console and get the newer one.
Yeah, because you're not
And
gonna
you're gonna have a really difficult time
convincing
convincing those
someone
to switch.
to jump ship to a
Yep.
completely different ecosystem entirely. That's not.
Hmm.
I mean, I there's people that do it, but that's a very small
Yeah, but
percentage.
hmm yep.
That's an incredibly small percentage. There was something I don't remember where I saw it. I think I don't
Hmm.
think it was in this interview, but it
Hmm.
was sort of the conversation. I said I wasn't going to talk about Redfall, but I'm talking about it like partly. It's mostly Arcane.
Hmm.
I don't want to
Hmm.
focus on Redfall. It's mostly Arcane.
Yeah.
It was
Hmm. Yeah,
it
but
was
it was the
Microsoft.
interview. It was just a different article from this. Hmm.
It was Microsoft basically saying we own Arcane, but we don't consider
Mm-hmm.
Arcane a part of Microsoft Studios. Therefore, they don't have the same
Mm-hmm.
scrutiny or oversight that our
Mm,
studios would have, right? Because they're
yeah,
not
although
Microsoft.
although that was only part of it, from what I remember, the bigger part was that the game was already in development. So
Uh,
Bethesda was looking closer at that, and what they did, what they could have done is take a closer look at the development and help them with it, like they did with Starfield, because Starfield was much earlier in development
yeah, you
at
don't.
that
Yeah,
point.
you don't really want to be interfering with development once you get to a certain point,
Um,
because, right?
Actually, in a case like this, interference would have helped.
Yeah, but
Because
I've
because
always.
Arcane had big troubles with the Unreal Engine because this was the first title that they made with it in years.
Oh, I hadn't considered that.
Several titles beforehand were either their own engine or another engine, but Unreal has been a while, and they had problems with that. So Microsoft could have said, "We're gonna take another of our teams and make them help you with the problems."
You know, I
I'm not sure. I,
always.
I don't remember the name of the studio right now, but they do have one that's well versed in Unreal
You know,
stuff.
I think this is more of a problem with me because I always was
Mm-hmm.
just under the assumption that like Unreal was so ubiquitous as an
Mm-hmm.
engine that I could never fathom the idea of a dev going to Unreal and then
Mm-hmm.
struggling with Unreal. Because in my mind, I've always sort of envisioned the Unreal Engine as just being this
Mm-hmm.
ubiquitous sort of catch-all tool to
Mm-hmm.
things. You know what I mean? So when I hear the idea that a dev switched to Unreal and this shit is fucking with them, that is a
Mm-hmm.
really hard thing for me to wrap my head around. Like that's
Yeah.
on me. That's on me for my interpretation. I admit that, but that's still mind blowing to me.
It's gonna happen no matter which engine. If you're new to an engine, you still need to learn its pitfalls and its ups and downs. And that's especially difficult if you're switching from another engine.
So I'm going to assume, okay, this is
Mm-hmm.
going to sound really dumb. You're going to hear
Mm-hmm.
what I'm going to say and you're going to look at me like I'm stupid, but hear me out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to assume they switched to Unreal and they couldn't just look up a couple of YouTube tutorials on Unreal. uh,
Triple A development is slightly more involved there.
you know, you say that,
Mm-hmm.
but I would then say YouTube is one of the greatest repositories of learning that has
Mm-hmm.
come to exist in the last.
That can help you up to a certain point.
Like I just love the idea that a dev
Mm-hmm.
was like struggling with Unreal, so he opens YouTube and is like,
Mm-hmm.
okay,
Oh,
how?
so that's how we do it. Okay, here, great.
Yeah, like
90,
he
90
he
out of 100 title. Boom.
he can't figure out how this tool works in Unreal, so he
Mm-hmm.
fucking YouTubes it.
Like you
Like
go to Arcane and then you give them that suggestion. Oh, we never thought of that.
like
YouTube, what's that?
I'm sorry. I find that idea. I just find that idea
It's
like
amusing, yeah.
amusing, but like part of me actually does mean it. Like that's the problem. Part of me is like you couldn't have like YouTube some of these problems. I'm sure there must be tutorials. Huh? I'm sure somebody has like a 27-hour long tutorial on the Unreal Engine. I don't think anyone has
I
time for that
think
shit, but
if
I'm
you want
sure
to
it
cover the
exists.
whole engine, I think it's more like a 27-year tutorial.
Oh shit. Okay, fair enough. You got me. You got me. But yeah. So like I said, I found this interview to be really
Mm.
interesting, and like I said, I was very taken aback by just his candor about the whole situation.
Mm-hmm.
Like when it
Yeah, it
came to
was.
Redfall, he goes, "Yeah, we dropped the ball on that shit." He's
Yeah,
like,
it was pretty real, so to say.
yeah." It's like, yeah, we
Didn't
shouldn't.
sugarcoat things.
It's
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, we probably shouldn't have had those press demos that were put on YouTube in 60 FPS if the game wasn't going to launch in
Mm-hmm.
60
Yep.
FPS. Probably not the brightest idea to have done that.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of things we could have done
Yeah.
better. Although, in hindsight,
And
I
his
think,
hindsight analysis about what they could have done seems pretty accurate, I have to say. So yeah, kudos on that.
yeah,
Now let's hope that they actually that it actually turns out that Starfield is that as good as hoped, or at least not a trash fire.
nah, yeah, I think the more optimistic take is that it's not a trash fire.
Mm. It'll just work.
Okay, no, that is too much optimism, even for this show. I'm not expecting it to just work. Sorry.
Oh, sorry, I'm gonna take the Todd levels 1 inch lower.
Yeah, I'm not naive enough to assume it'll just work.
Mhm.
Where did I put it? Where is it? Where is it? My
What you
life
looking for?
for the next story involving Kotaku. I need it.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. Okay, so the Kotaku story is it's mildly amusing
Uh-huh.
and
Well,
mildly faced.
mildly is putting it a bit low.
So this all started with someone from Kotaku. I forget
Mhm.
who started it, but someone from Kotaku had made the
Had made a tweet.
had made a tweet saying it's kind of absurd to imagine that Nintendo refuses to send a publication like us an advance
They,
copy.
they've still blacklisted us.
Yeah, that they've
And I'm pretty sure that person was Ethan Gatch.
yeah, that they blacklisted us and that they will not send us a copy of the game. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're not in the know about some of this, you might go, "Damn, Nintendo's on a warpath lately. They're just blacklisting publications and shit
Mm.
left and right." Yeah, it's a little more complicated than that. Or I shouldn't say complicated because when you find out why they were blacklisted, it ain't
It's
so
really not
yeah, it's
complicated.
really not complicated, folks. This is not we're not getting into Unreal Engine level of ideas here. This is pretty
You don't need a
simple.
YouTube tutorial to understand this one.
Yeah. So, we're going to go back a bit to the release of Metroid Dread for the Nintendo Switch. Fairly
Mhm.
popular video game, just a little something like Metroid.
Mhm.
Kotaku, in their infinite wisdom, somebody there was apparently on some big brain shit that week, had decided to do an article the day after the game launched, by the way. We
Mhm.
actually looked into this before we did the show just to be sure we had our dates correct. It was the day after, did an article along the lines of Metroid Dread runs really good on emulator. I don't think that was
Mhm.
the exact title. I don't remember
The
if they
exact title was Metroid Dread is already running on Switch emulators.
Yeah, it's already running on Switch
Ah.
emulators. Okay. Look, we could go into the conversation of, well, if they weren't promoting using emulators, they shouldn't have. Okay. That's still kind of a slippery slope with Nintendo, but you could make that argument. The argument could be, well, they weren't promoting emulation. But then I would ask, with a name like that, aren't you though? Like even passively, even if we're not saying explicit, we're not even saying they were explicitly like you can play Metroid Prime Dread for free. Oh no, even if we're talking like a passive promotion of emulation of Nintendo's IP, super passive, I think that is reasonable. Like bare minimum, you didn't do it explicitly, but you kind of gave a passive promotion of emulation. And remember, this is Nintendo. This is the same company that did not like Steam Deck videos showing Nintendo games running on the Steam Deck via emulation. That happened. Like you can't look back at that happening and then write this and then go, "Oh shit, I can't believe they blacklisted us." What the fuck?
Yeah, because the fun thing with that article was also in the first version, they had an embedded tweet by one of the emulators, and also links to the emulators and all. So
Oh, they actually did. Oh, I was giving them the benefit of the doubt last time I do that shit. Last time, never again. Never.
They had
again.
links. They had links to. One is a link to a video to Ujinx running it on 4K.
Oh my god.
So yeah.
Okay.
And
can you do
they
me
also
can you do
and
me a favor?
they also had the article ending with, if you want to play the rest of the Metroid franchise and don't want to shell out large amounts of money on old consoles and games, your best bet is also emulation. As is often the case, Nintendo is really bad about maintaining access to their past games outside of the few big sellers. Thank God for pirates, emulators, modders, and hackers. Yeah, it's an absolute mystery why they got blacklisted.
I was giving them the benefit because I hadn't looked that deeply into the article because I was like, there's no fucking way Kotaku's that fucking stupid to have put links and shit to this shit in this article. There's no fucking way. Turns out there is a fucking way. Kotaku is really just that guy.
Yeah.
There's a great video.
They were just one, not even an inch before directly linking to the download site of an emulator.
Oh.
Just 1 inch. Because the embedded tweet had the link to the download page. So they all but directly linked to the emulator.
CD.
The only thing more they could have done is link to a site that has the ROMs.
CD. There's a college professor who talks about this. If you want to know how much you want to find out, I don't know if you know this, CD, but
I guess the degree of fucking around for Kotaku was pretty high.
Remember, CD, the amount of fucking around is directly proportional to how much you find out. Directly proportional. They're linked.
Yeah.
And I'd like to think Kotaku.
I think Kotaku was trying to find out if there's a version where that's exponential.
Exponential. They say it's proportional, but is it exponential though? Oh goodness. Okay, so yeah, there you go. I was actually giving them more credit than was actually due, and CD has once again managed to school me in why I shouldn't give publications the benefit of the doubt ever.
Specifically Kotaku, yes.
Yeah, Kotaku. So you would think
that's not the end of the story.
Yeah, you would think that Kotaku would just take the L. You would think Kotaku would just take the L. But no. I mean, they took the L, but they took it with about as much grace as a rhino in a china factory. So, Ethan Gatch, the fantastic
the one that made the tweet about the
The
blacklist.
one who was griping about the blacklist
Mm-hmm.
released a doozy of an article um, on Kotaku.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like it was updated. Looks like this
Mm-hmm.
article. I actually went to Kotaku. I wanted to pull a recent version, so I'm not entirely sure if they actually removed anything. It just says this
Mm-hmm.
article was updated at some point, and I'm not entirely sure what they changed. I know there's a spoiler warning here, but I just don't know what was actually updated unless the spoiler warning itself is the update, but it doesn't say update next to that. So I don't know. I don't know. He releases this lovely. Okay, so a little context. Not in between all this happening, him griping about the blacklist.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, there were already rumblings about the game being available, about the game having already been leaked,
Leaked.
which is
Mm-hmm.
nothing new for any Nintendo game.
Yeah.
I say Nintendo specifically because it feels like Nintendo games more times than not are the ones that get sold early and then end up all over the internet. At least my perspective. That this is
Mm-hmm.
me. So he releases a banger of an article, an absolute banger. Everything we're learning about Zelda Tears of the Kingdom from the leaks.
Mm-hmm.
Now, now look,
Yeah.
look. I okay. I'm gonna say it. I'm a petty
Mm-hmm.
human being.
Mm-hmm.
I am. I am a very petty human being. All right, incredibly petty. Like beyond the level of petty you should be allowed to be without dying. All right, that kind of
Mm-hmm.
petty. I find this entire article, this entire thing, to be pretty fucking petty, even by my standards. I just find, because this wasn't written in like good faith. This was this was written as a fuck you to Nintendo
Mm.
in the most petty way possible. He was like, well, they're not
Especially
gonna
in the
give.
context of this being the same person writing it as
Yeah,
the tweet.
yeah, that it is the most petty fucking thing. Look, I'm not gonna like put much time into reading it because I actually do kind of
Nah.
want to play this, and I don't really want
Yeah.
to sit here and fucking be
No need to go
Kotaku.
into spoilers.
No need. Yeah, I don't want to be Kotaku on this one. So
Mm.
if you wanted a reason not to go to Kotaku's website, please take this as a fantastic reason. Reverse advertising. That's where I tell you
Mm.
not to go somewhere.
Mm.
No, this is like so petty. This is like beyond
Mhm.
petty. This is like, oh, you're gonna take away my toys? Okay, I got something for that ass. So I'm gonna just spoil aspects of your new video game that you're putting out via leaks. That's fine. I'm sure there's nothing wrong with that. I'm sure you're good. I'm sure, Ethan. I'm sure you're gonna end up off the blacklist immediately.
Absolutely.
I'm sure Nintendo is already taking you off the blacklist as we speak. I
I'm
just
sure. Yeah.
you know what kills me? Like he wrote
Mm.
this, and then
Mhm.
somebody on this staff received this and then
Mhm.
looked it over and
Mm.
then said, "Yeah, that's fine." And then gave it back to him and said, "Yeah, post it."
If there's actually as much quality control on the site.
Yeah, I'd like yeah, again, there's my assumption that there's more faith there than there should be.
Mhm.
But this isn't necessarily part of this story, but it is hilarious because
Mhm.
Reggie Fils-Aimé is involved in this next little bit about Tears of the Kingdom, and I couldn't help myself.
Mhm.
So, a user by the name of I am a human.
I'm a human and I'm a gamer,
I'm a human
all
and
written
I'm
together.
a gamer, did a tweet where
Mm-hmm.
he showed his Switch screen, the Switch main screen, with Tears
Mm-hmm.
of the Kingdom and the icon next to it saying that he's currently playing it.
Yeah.
And Reggie, remember, this is Reggie. He doesn't work for
Mm-hmm.
Nintendo anymore. Reggie
Although
retweets
this
this. Hmm?
might yeah, this is probably this should be the regular Switch screen.
Yeah, that's just the home
Because it's
screen.
it's
That's the
the
home
regular
screen.
home screen. Yeah.
Yeah, he
Yep.
was on the home screen and he was showing Tears of the
Yeah.
Kingdom. He was showing that he was playing it. So he was
Mm-hmm.
playing the game. He went to the home screen, took a picture,
Yeah.
and then Reggie, because he's a savage, did a quote of saying, "I don't know what you want. What I do have, what I do have are a very particular set of skills. Skills I have acquired over a long career. Skills that make me a nightmare for people like you." Very nice use of the taken quote. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Really appreciate that.
Yep.
Uh,
Even after leaving Nintendo, he still brings the good content.
so he does this, and not too long after this, this guy's account got fucking nuked. This guy's Twitter
Mm-hmm.
account got fucking nuked from fucking orbit. And people were like, "Oh, Reggie Fils-Aimé bullied a kid off the internet," and I'm like, "No, he didn't." Like, okay, maybe if you want to be like, Reggie brought attention to what this kid was doing,
Mm-hmm.
and that caused the kid to get banned. But you know an
Nah,
easy
he
way.
wasn't banned. He wasn't banned.
Uh,
He either deleted or deactivated the account himself.
oh, he was catching shit then. So he
Because
was.
the the tweet that he for one, the screenshot he made already shows the account on lockdown, which probably
Ah,
happened after
yeah,
afterwards and wasn't there before.
yeah.
And the message you get is this account doesn't exist. It's not account is suspended or anything like that.
Uh,
So yeah,
like
this was
you want to
he
know
fled.
you want to know a good way to not get bullied off the internet?
And
It's easy. Don't post pictures of you playing a game that isn't out yet, or just don't
I
be
mean,
on Twitter.
depending on how he got it, it's perfectly
Yeah,
fair.
yeah. I mean, yeah. Depend.
If he purchased it regularly, it's perfectly fair for him to do it.
Yeah, there's nothing, and that's the issue. Sometimes is we all
Mm-hmm.
just people just assume he just pirated it because a lot of people don't really think that. A lot of people
Which
don't assume
is
breaking street.
possible.
A lot of people don't assume that breaking street date would happen so long before release.
Mm-hmm.
But as someone who's worked in retail, especially in the gaming space, breaking street date is not as uncommon as you think it
Yep.
is, because
If I think we might have had several cases of it in our
it's
show
not that
over the last years,
it's not that
last few
uncommon.
years.
And remember,
Uh,
the only places that really suffer any genuine consequences are like smaller stores that do it. But even a
mm-hmm.
smaller store might be able to get out of any real consequences by just saying, "Oh, well, the paperwork we
Yeah.
had said it was out, and an employee sold it." Yeah, sure, they have to pay a fine for doing it, but
Mm-hmm.
9 times out of 10, Nintendo isn't just not gonna. If Walmart breaks street date, Nintendo isn't going to suddenly stop giving Walmart copies. Come the fuck on. You know what I mean? Like, that's not gonna happen. Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm.
Nintendo's gonna be like, well, we're not gonna give Walmart any more copies of our game. You know what Walmart's gonna do? Walmart's gonna be fine. We're just not gonna carry any of your shit in our stores. Fuck you then. Cause
Yeah. Although the strength of stores has waned in comparison to the past, but yeah, I'd still say they have considerable weight
I
in
think
that regard.
I think if you I think
Although it's been
Walmart
much more the past.
I think if you want to talk about a retail company that could probably bully someone,
Yeah, it's
I
probably gonna be
I
Walmart.
it's gonna be Walmart. It's not gonna be fucking GameStop. GameStop's not gonna bully shit.
Definitely not. Definitely not GameStop.
Yeah,
No.
yeah. GameStop ain't bullying shit. Trust me.
Mm-mm.
So that story was kind of cool. That was
Yep,
fun.
that was fun.
That was
Definitely.
fun. I need that once in a while. Uh, an interesting story, and this is something I read this after you sent it,
Mm-hmm.
and I kind of like thought about it for a bit, meditated on it for a
Mm-hmm.
bit, and I really kind of put some thought into it because I hadn't really considered that what this overall story was kind of implying. And this
Mm-hmm.
comes from The Escapist. Former BioWare writer David Gator says BioWare quietly resented writers.
Which is a
And
heck of a thing to say, considering BioWare and their
yeah,
past.
so even putting aside the story, right? I started to kind of
Mm-hmm.
like really think to myself about, I guess, anything that's a team effort,
Mm-hmm.
right? And when you think about a team effort,
Mm-hmm.
9 times out of 10, there's only a few people that truly get recognized when you look
Mm-hmm.
at it from the outside, right? You got the coach, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? You got the coach. He gets recognized,
Mm-hmm.
right? They're gonna say, "Oh yeah, the coach is fantastic leadership and fucking that."
Mm-hmm.
Right? You got one or two standout players, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But then I was like, okay, what about game development? How do you look at that? It's like you got like when we think about Mass Effect, it's like Casey Hudson, right? He was the
Mm-hmm.
one that led that charge with
Yep.
Mass Effect. People know him, right? And when you
Mm-hmm.
think of like the early Mass Effects, I forget the person that wrote the earlier Mass Effects. Fuck. But I know they had gotten a lot of. I know the writer specific one of
Mm-hmm.
the head lead writers had gotten specifically a lot of notoriety. So
Mm-hmm.
I started thinking like, you know, it is a little interesting that writers are resented that like have this they have this resentment towards writers. But the more I thought about it, the more I'm like, what are you really upset with me for? Like if I was a writer, right? If I'm
Mm-hmm.
writing good stories and then
Mm-hmm.
like I'm on my next project and everybody in the office is shooting me the fucking stink eye. My
Mm-hmm.
my first thought is the fuck y'all mad at me for? I'm just writing the story. Y'all motherfuckers the one making the game. I don't see what y'all upset with me for. This is ridiculous. Cause that's such a weird thing to be resentful over. Like I guess I mean you could be mad. I think individuals can be mad if they're not recognized, right? But like we have,
Mm. I
right?
think the immediate thing is less the recognition. I think what drives this is when you're crunching over a lot of time and then go to the next project and then you get a big story for a game.
Mm-hmm.
That story causes development because you have to make the things that happen in the story. You have to make the art
Mm,
assets, the sounds. You have to essentially put the story on the screen. That concerns most of the other team members.
right.
So
So if you
whatever the writer does, they have to do
right,
essentially.
and if your writer's shooting for the fucking galaxy,
Hmm. Yeah, and the more writing you have, essentially, the more work you have.
I get it.
Hmm.
Like I understand the words that are coming out of your mouth. I understand.
But that's good because I think I'm using English.
I get it. But that I don't know, man. That
Hmm.
that rubs me the wrong way. Like it's true, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
the writer is the one creating a lot of the narrative aspect. The writer's the one creating the narrative aspect. He's the one.
Mm-hmm.
They're the ones that are creating the world, so to speak, creating the context. All that stuff. So,
Mm-hmm.
the more elaborate the writer decides to be, the more the writer decides that they really want to make this a big blowout situation. Yeah, the more work that's going to put on everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
But what's your alternative? What
As the
what's
article
what
mentions, how do we have less writing?
How do we have less less
Yeah.
less writing? Okay,
Mm-hmm.
less writing. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. What? No, I'm really struggling. I'm really struggling here on the less writing part.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and in this case, it's I think at least in this case, I think it's less that the general team members have a problem with the writer, but the people in charge, the ones that the project managers, the ones with the money bags and
Oh,
such,
well, then
they had the project managers. They have to essentially say, okay, we have this time frame, and then yeah, they have to
well,
decide
then
what gets done.
then make a smaller scope of a fucking video game. It's that
Mm-hmm.
fucking simple.
Hmm.
Make a smaller scope for a video game. Don't tell the writers at the start, like, look, all right, fucking rein your shit in.
Mm-hmm.
Not everything has to be the fucking massive world spanning globe-trotting adventure. You can have
Mm-hmm.
you can have a big story in a smaller scope, you
Mm-hmm.
know.
Yeah, what I think they were aiming at was a big world, but not as much writing in it. So they still have the great feature checkbox of giant open world or whatever.
Then why
Stuff
okay,
like
but
that.
then why does the world
Mm-hmm.
exist? Like less writing,
Hmm.
but you don't like
Feature checkboxes. Marketing.
market of course.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like it. Like I think this sounds utterly stupid, but
Yep,
I'm
it
not a
certainly does.
I'm not a bit
I'm not gonna counteract that.
I'm not a business person, so who
Uh-huh.
knows? Maybe this is just beyond my small little consumer mind to truly grasp. It's possible. It is. It's possible.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I just don't get it. That that's such a weird take. I don't know, man. That's such a weird
Yeah.
take. Like have this big world, but have less writing. Like
Mm-hmm.
don't write too much. Don't do too much with it. Just but give but like don't write too much, but give us something that we can use to
Mm-hmm.
have this giant world that we can feature check off all these different things.
Mm-hmm. If this attitude is more prevalent than just at BioWare, then I would say that would explain things like Ubisoft doing experimentation with stuff like ChatGPT to
Yeah.
generate dialogues and stuff like that.
You know, I don't want to detour too much,
Mm-hmm.
but not necessarily like
But let's
AI.
do it anyway.
I'm gonna do it. Look. It's my fucking show. If I want a detour, I'm a fucking detour. All
Yeah.
right. There was a conversation at my job,
Mm-hmm.
and some of the older heads were talking about how technology is becoming a problem, and I'm like, how so?
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, it's only a matter of time until we all get replaced. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay, that's not really a new take, but okay. Like, how do
Mm-hmm.
you figure? And they're like, why would they need us if they could just have robots? I'm like, okay, stop. Let's really think about this for a second. Okay, sweetheart. So let's take a grocery store as like the basis for this, right? What could you replace? You could, in theory, have self checkout lanes,
Mm-hmm.
right? You could do that.
Yeah.
But you're
Yeah,
not
they're
real.
already a thing.
Yeah, they're
Mm-hmm.
already a thing. You could replace regular lanes with just self checkout lanes. But
Mm-hmm.
you're still going to have people there to help customers.
Keep those
So
running
yeah,
and
to keep
that.
those
Yeah.
yeah, to help customers. So you're really just trading having a bunch of checkout lanes with no one actually running them with a bunch of self checkout lanes with people just looking after customers. So you really haven't
Mm-hmm.
lost anything there. You
Which
know,
might replace a few people. So in essence, you'd have less people for the same amount of lanes
yeah,
potentially, and differently trained people potentially,
right. But
depending on
yeah,
what needs to be fixed.
if anything,
Mm-hmm.
if anything, it's just more layering of complexity. It's going to be slightly more complex to
Mm-hmm.
do
Yeah.
that versus I don't know, fucking run a register. Registers aren't that complicated. They do
Yeah.
most of the work fucking for you. Trust me, I've worked one before.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, fine. Deli, you can't. You're not really. You're gonna need to have somebody, people behind the counter at your meat station, at your fish
Mm-hmm.
station. You can't really automate that shit. Not for a very very long time. Sorry, you're not automating that. Your stock
Mm-hmm.
workers, people who put shit on the shelves. Yeah, gonna be honest with you. If Amazon hasn't figured out a way to somehow automate the notion of
Mm-mm.
getting shit getting shit sent out, we fucking ain't. That's for damn sure. So guess what? Your stock
Yeah.
people ain't going anywhere. They ain't
Because I
going
think
nowhere.
while that would be possible, it would also be really expensive.
Yeah, if
Because you
Amazon,
would essentially have to have robots that can take any kind of package, heavy, light, small, big, and put them up on the highest shelf.
yeah, and then you get
And
into
that's
like,
not easy to do.
and then you get into like facing shit. Facing is
Mm-hmm.
when you make everything all nice and neat and you pull it forward.
Yeah, that
You
yeah,
get into like
that requires intuition as well a bit.
you get into like facing shit. Yeah, good
Mm-hmm.
luck. Yeah, good luck in teaching a robot about pulling shit forward without knocking shit off the shelf. Like to see you pull
Mm-hmm.
that shit off, right? And I'm like, okay. She's like, okay, fine. Maybe grocery stores might be a bit more resistant, but what about like fast food? I'm like, listen, lady. All right,
Mm-hmm.
maybe we'll have robots that can take care of drinks. But you want to talk about having a robot who's flipping burgers?
I
Like,
mean, how well does the McFlurry machine usually work at McDonald's?
yeah, yeah,
That ain't a beam for no reason.
yeah. Like, here's the thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't really subscribe to this idea of doom and gloom when it comes to the advancing of technology, when it comes to getting rid
Mm-hmm.
of people out of positions. Because while it is theoretically possible, and
Mm-hmm.
while an
Yeah.
idea of a completely automated future isn't it isn't quite Jetsons, but
Yeah.
it also isn't quite here. It's somewhere in
Mm-hmm.
between. It's somewhere in between Jetsons and where we are.
And
you
what time frame was Jetsons?
Yeah, it wasn't that long ago, gonna be honest with you. The Jetsons be looking at us like where the fuck did we go wrong?
I mean, Jetsons itself ran a long time ago, but I'm wondering if if there is a time frame that the show is in, if that
It's
was
a
ever said.
20XX.
Uh-huh. Yeah, probably something like that.
It's 20XX. We don't want to
Mm-hmm.
we don't want to carbon date our fucking TV show here.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
yeah, like you're
Essentially, like Mega Man is already a thing, right?
right. Like it's somewhere between the Jetsons and where we are, right? Even
Mm-hmm.
like I know truck drivers who are extremely mad about the
Mm-hmm.
idea of like them being replaced by robots.
They're not going to be completely replaced, not for a while. And
Oh,
in the meantime, I think self-driving assistance is gonna help them a lot in their
yeah.
jobs.
Yeah, no, they're like
In the
this
long
is
run, maybe, but
they're
not
like
for a
this
while.
they're like this is ridiculous. He's like
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be put out the business by a bunch of Silicon Valley nerds who think they know about truck driving. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
"Bro, chill. Chill. Nobody is out trying to get rid of your goddamn job, all right? Believe me, you're not at risk, all right? And not to
Not for a
mention,
while.
yeah, self-driving hasn't really been it's a thing, but
It's been improving, but it's definitely not there
I
yet.
don't think we're at the point where like, truck drivers
Mm.
have to worry about being replaced by an AI that's going to navigate this series of trucks throughout the nation to their destinations via a complex script and like
Mm.
GPS and satellites and geolocation. It's not like could it happen? Yeah, of course. It's
In the long run,
the
something
ground
like
the
that will
groundwork
very
is
likely
there,
happen.
but
Yeah.
like you guys ain't running the risk of losing your jobs probably for another 50 to 30, maybe 30 years before the technology is like
Mm-hmm.
actually fully fleshed out and we have like enough data to actually make that a feasible thing, enough street data, just enough data in general. Because remember, most of these cars all have cameras now, and a lot of them
Mm-hmm.
are actually mapping as they go. Like you got to keep in mind the reason why self-driving is a difficult thing to come up with is because you have to map all the roads, right? And even my GPS doesn't always get that shit right, and that's Google fucking Maps. If there's anybody I'd
Mm-hmm.
expect to get that shit right, it's probably the fucking god emperor of the internet itself, Google. You have to map all that shit. You have to account for like a billion different variables. In some cases, you
Mm-hmm.
just have to account for the idea that a street no longer exists.
Yep. And in that case, you have to have the ability to just dynamically react to that. So you have to have, well, good enough cameras. You have to have an AI system in there that can calculate where you need to go. And if that's a road where you're driving,
Do you?
still.
I don't know if you remember. It was a big fuss. Do you remember
Mm,
when Apple started rolling out their maps thing? This was years and years and years ago, and it was like taking people to like abandoned lots and shit. It was like, yo, no, look it up. It's hilarious.
mhm.
It couldn't. It would take people to like the entirely wrong fucking place.
Mm.
You
Yeah,
know?
I can imagine. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I think yeah they had the problems. I remember that much.
Yeah, it would
Mm-hmm.
take you like you would try to go somewhere and it would like direct you to like the entirely wrong place in the entirely wrong direction or some shit and you
Mm-hmm.
end up at a
Yeah.
fucking empty lot in the city or some shit and it's like,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, I think
Well,
I
this
think
isn't where I wanted to go.
I think Alexa wants me I think Siri wants me dead."
Mm-hmm.
Siri done lured
Apple
me.
Skynet.
Yeah,
Hmm.
Siri done dragged me out to an empty lot. I might be on the short list.
What's that over there? A T800 with an Apple iMac as a head? Hmm.
Uh, yeah, so I don't really subscribe to doom and gloom. To tie this back, I don't really even subscribe to the idea that like an AI could write a script or write
Mm-hmm.
a fucking thing, but
But you
like
definitely have to rewrite that before you
yeah,
can
like
in any way use
how
it.
much like my whole thing would be how much are you saving realistically, right? Because like okay fine
Mm-hmm.
like maybe chat gpt writes out like 50 fucking pages. It comes up with 50
Mm-hmm.
fucking pages for your lore and all this stupid ass shit. But
I'd
now
say
you,
it's mainly for now. It's probably mainly stuff like side quests and stuff like that, where you could use it decently, because that stuff that is in current games is on a template anyway. So
I
you
was
have
yeah, I was
two,
just,
three kinds of side quests that you make a lot of, and you churn them out. They are usually not that great. That could be a part where something like ChatGPT could improve things. But
I was about to
the
say,
the more central things, not
I was
right
about
now.
to
No.
say, if there's anything I've learned from the last handful of years of AAA video games, is that we
Mm-hmm.
copy paste shit constantly.
Yep.
We have like a total of like 5 quest designs, like 5 quest
Mm-hmm.
templates that we copy ad nauseum.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, maybe I'm being a little hyperbolic there. I'm sure it's probably closer
It's
to
not
like
that It's usually not that much per game. You
you
have
got
usually a few templates in an open world game, and then you have quest lines there. You have a category of stuff there. You have your collectathons. You have your fetch quests. You have your kill X things quests, and yeah, it's usually nothing really complex. Usually, the more the more important things are going to be the more complex ones, and there's not that much of that in the games usually. But if you have a really big open world and then you let an AI just generate a whole bunch of different things, that could be an improvement.
that's
Even
oddly
if you
op-
have to just do another have someone look that over and fix some things up and all, it would still overall save time, I think. But
that's a
we're
that's
gonna have to wait and see how that
it's
turns out.
oddly very optimistic
Hmm.
coming from the
It's a
cynic.
possibility. It's a possibility. Given that it's a developer like Ubisoft, looking at it, I'm not holding out much hope that it's gonna really be of great quality, but
yeah,
it might
because
still be an improvement upon the current state,
yeah, because
which isn't a very good state. So,
we assume that there's going to be
mhm,
like it creates it and then like someone else is going to come along, tighten things up, fix a
mhm.
couple things in it. But like did none of
I mean,
us
someone is gonna have to just implement
okay,
those things
you
anyway.
like
So,
did none of us do none of us remember the GTA remasters? Like they ran that shit directly through an AI and put that shit out into the market without even checking that shit. So I
mhm.
don't have a lot of confidence that
Yeah.
Ubisoft would put that level of work into it. So
Definitely.
call me cynical if you like, but this is the
Yeah.
turn-based cynic. So I think that if you're calling me cynical, you have missed the point of the show. Think you
I
think you,
mean, that would be pretty much hit the target.
all right, fine. If you're calling me a cynic out of surprise by my cynicality,
Okay.
then
If you're surprised by it, that's
yeah, then
an entirely different issue.
you have completely missed the point of the show. Oh, goodness. You see, CD, I went on that tangent and I still wrapped the show up on time. See, you gotta trust in me once in a while, man. You gotta really gotta believe in the creative process. And by creative process, I mean whatever comes to my head as I'm going, because that is my creative process. Calling it a process might be a bit of a stretch, but I'd have to actually double check what the actual definition of process is and whether or not I qualify for that. What's a series of actions or steps in order to achieve a particular end? Yeah, no, it's a process. It's a series of steps. It doesn't say anything about pre-planning. It doesn't say you have to plan that shit out. It's just a series of steps I take to get there, no matter how nonsensical they are. I've achieved
Yeah.
the end.
It doesn't say anything about a straight line.
Yeah,
It's
no.
something like a complete snake with knots and all. That
Yeah,
also applies.
that's fine. That's fine. You know what else is fine, CD? Where our
Mhm.
lovely, lovely listeners can find our show every single Sunday on a variety of podcasting platforms, such as Apple, Spotify, and Google, and our video show every single Sunday at Turn-Based Cynics on YouTube every Sunday
Indeed.
night. Won't one of these days I'm gonna commit to actually having everything ready at a certain time. That's my next plan, is actually committing to that. But that's a level of commitment I don't know if I can commit to. That is really hard. So I'll get there. I will get there. But please understand, every Sunday without fail, the show will be up. Usually Sunday night, but it will be up. You will see the show live on podcasting platforms and on YouTube. I hope you've all enjoyed the show. I have. I don't, it's any opportunity,
Certainly.
any opportunity to put trust in Kotaku for bad reasons and then have that trust smashed is that's why I signed up for this. It's why I created this show. No, actually, that's not why I created the show. One of these days, people will learn why I created the show. I might talk about that someday in a future episode. The true evil villain plot that this show is actually moving towards that no one else has figured out. But till then, I hope you all have a fantastic week. My vacation's almost over. Got to get back on that horse. Got to get back on that horse, CD. Got to get back on that horse. You can't just sit
Yes,
around.
indeed.
Can't just sit around doing nothing forever. You gotta fucking jump back on that horse and get it done.
Yeah.
Till then, everybody, have a fantastic week. Continue playing your video games, and we will see you all next time.
See ya.